Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tate and Charlie for another special video. And this time we are, of course, doing the second entry in the Untitled Monthly Movie Show. We're still getting to grips with the name of it. The episode where we get to have an informal chat about film. We go over the stuff we've seen this month, and it is the final Sunday, I guess we can say, of February. So we have pretty much seen almost everything we're going to watch, in case there are a few other films people are watching between now and Tuesday. But first of all, how are we both doing tonight?
Yeah, good. Yeah, this month went very fast, I will say. Didn't manage to get to see many films, but I'm happy to start talking about them just as a casual chat.
Yeah, pretty good. It's probably safe to say I've seen more films than both of you put together this month, so that could be fun. We'll see where we go. But yeah, all good.
Yeah, definitely. And Charlie, it's been lovely to get you back on. I know it's been a while. I'm trying to think of last time. I don't think last time was at screening. We haven't spoken in ages. So lovely to get you back on for the second episode as well. We've got Dave in the comments, who, of course, was in that first episode. So, Dave, you've probably seen a lot more than me as well this month. I'm the same as Dave. I've seen very few this month. This month has been a write-off for a lot of reasons. And we've got another great comment. Next time the show goes out, we'll have had the Oscars, which is another very good point. Which
I'm not ready.
I believe it's today, the 6th anniversary of La La not winning at the Oscars, or was that yesterday? So
no, it's today.
It is. We're slowly getting them back to February time. But before we get into that, as we know, we want to hear from everyone at home. If you're not watching it live, if you're joining us later on, let us know what films you've been watching this month. Get involved. Please do comment. This series is going to be every month. It's a bit more informal. If you want us to talk about something as well that's happened in the month, maybe it's a news piece, maybe it's something big affecting the industry. Last month, we did the Oscar predictions with Dave. So anything you want to bring up, you are more than welcome to bring them up. This is a very informal, chilled out stream, or we hope it's an informal, chilled out stream. We're not trying to be too attacking with what people are watching, etc., etc. And as always, go find us on social medias. It's where we announce all of our videos: Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and airbus.com/cinema-savvy, with a link to Redbubble in that description below. Tate, we're doing this in the second episode. Do you want to go through yours first and the concept for people at home?
Yeah, sure. So this is kind of more of a chat. We kind of log all of our films that we watch on Letterboxd. I'm still new to Letterboxd, but I'm getting used to it. And we're just going to kind of go through the films, and whenever someone wants to kind of jump in, they can jump in. I mean, I've only got 7 films that I watched this month, so you can jump in on all of them if you really wanted to. But as kind of a tail off from last month, I've stuck with the theme of going for, completing the animated films for the Oscar nominations. So the first film I watched was Marcel, the Shell with Shoes On, which was fun little film. I don't think it won the award, but I do want to bring this up as well. There have been problems in the past with animated films, especially Lego Movie, and their live action elements, and whether they've been considered for the animated Oscar. I felt like this film was more live action than any animated film I've ever seen before to be considered the best animated feature in the Oscars. What's your take on that? Like, I don't know if both of you have seen it. I know that, Charlie, you've seen it, but...
Charlie, you're better than me for this question.
I've actually seen it twice. I watched it yesterday, actually. There's a big debate at the moment about the fact whether that this is classed as an animated film and Avatar is classed as a live action, where obviously there's actually more real life footage and human interaction in Marcel the Shell than there is in Avatar, which is, make of that what you will. It's really tough because actually what they've done with the character of Marcel and his family members is entirely, obviously, animation. It's all stop motion. It's all incredibly well crafted, but yes, it is also entirely in a live action setting. So it's a hybrid film. It did really well at the Annie Awards yesterday, so I think it's safe to say it definitely falls into the animated category. But it's a slightly blurred line, I would say.
Yeah, I thought it was just a bit of a weird one watching it.
Yeah. I've not seen it. I've seen the trailer because Cindy will do what they do best. Let's put a trailer in for a film we're going to show once a day at 11 a.m. so you can't go. I was surprised to see it was like it's the mockumentary type thing off the trailer. I've not seen the film. And I was quite surprised that I saw it as live action, only because I know we debated endlessly Tayte Lion King 2019. I am firmly, and I guess Avatar doubles into it, I'm firmly that it is live action, how they shoot it, how it's on set, etc., etc. because I know so little about how they've shot this, I'm probably not the best, but it really does depend on, I think, the approach to the filmmaking process, which is always, I think, an interesting thing. Even stop motion, we know, is animation, luckily, but I've even seen some people, I think that's just film Twitter in its own weird bubble, where they thought that Pinocchio wouldn't be animation when it is. It's just computer animated. Massively different.
But dare I say, with kind of the stop motion that's in Pinocchio, it's stop motion in an animated setting.
Mm-hmm. And it's stop motion in its entirety. So,
Yeah.
you know, like Nightmare Before Christmas, Coraline, that is the craft, whereas Marcel is incorporating something that we haven't really seen a lot of before. So it kind of, uses both to create. I think it all comes down to what technique is used to create the main character. And I think that's the same with Lion King, Avatar, Planet of the Apes. You know, they're all performed by a human, and therefore, although I'm not actually sure about Lion King, don't quote me on that.
There were humans on set. There's some really funny behind the scenes.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I think that tends to be sort of the deciding factor: is what is the main character? Is it animated or is it performed by a human?
Well, speaking of animated films, funny you mentioned it. I also watched Avatar 2 finally this
animated
month
films.
Well. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't think it's anywhere as good as the first film.
Really?
I'm leaving this chat now. Sorry.
No, I think for the leaps and bounds that we've made in computer generated, I like the water effects and I like the water elements, but it just doesn't. I don't know if it's the frames per second that's not sitting right with me or anything like that, but I prefer the first film by quite a fair distance.
Okay.
That's fair. We've got David Green giving in the comments as well. We've got Avatar 1 in a swimming pool. We've got Carl.
But Dave doesn't like Avatar, so his opinion doesn't count for anything.
We've got Carl. I'm not going to bring up the elephant in the room. I hope this hour is better than the last couple. And we've got Oscar's question from Dave about Austin Butler. We'll bring that up at the end, Dave. We'll do that after, because I have seen The Whale this month, so I'll get into that at some point. But yeah, Tayte, anything else? I know you're going through this.
Yes, so I'll move through them a little bit quicker. But one of the films that I've watched for the first time this month was Idiocracy, because every single time there's a comment about American politics on Reddit or Twitter, it says, "Oh my God, Idiocracy was a documentary or like kind of a premonition of what was to come." And I was going, huh. I keep on hearing Idiocracy coming up and stuff like that, just to see kind of what kind of comedy it is. It's okay. It's very mid. It's not like a laugh out loud funny. There's a few moments where I kind of laughed, but it's kind of dumb humor is funny kind of, and I don't really like those kind of films, but I'm glad I've finally watched it, so at least I get the reference now when people say that it was like in that same vein. I also rewatched the first Scream, knowing that the new Scream is coming out. I haven't actually seen any of the Scream sequels. I've only seen the first one.
I haven't even seen the first one.
I've seen the first scene from the first film.
I've seen Scary Movie. Does that count?
Yeah, it counts. That really does count. Yeah, in fact, I've seen more Scary Movie films than I've seen Scream movies. That's so funny. But no, that film is an absolute time capsule back to the 90s. It's crazy. Like, I remember first watching it, I didn't think too much of it kind of with the setting and stuff like that, but it is so like aggressively 90s. When you guys finally watch it, I think it'll be very interesting. And then cleaning up films from last year. So Bullet Train being one of them. Once again, was okay, was entertaining, quite liked it. And then probably the best film I watched this month was RRR, which I can't describe it. I can't describe it.
Plug that Neil was on the Empire podcast, wasn't he, for that? So I'm going to plug that now. Neil has been on our channel.
I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. It's one of the most bonkers films I've ever seen. It's one of the best shot action films I've seen in recent times. It is a musical. It has dance numbers. It is some of the craziest cinematography I've ever seen. It's pure Bollywood, and it's also amazing in every sense of the word. Cannot recommend it highly enough. I hope it wins the Oscar for best song, because it needs to win something.
I've seen a lot of people saying they're hoping that we get a performance of that song at the ceremony.
Oh my lord, with all of the actions and stuff like that. Yeah, 100%. I really hope so. And then the final film I watched of the month was Woman Talking.
What did you think?
Well, I can definitely tell it's a screenplay. It's definitely a screenplay.
There's definitely a script in there.
There's never been a more apt film title than this film. Unless they change the title to Woman and Ben Whishaw Talking, because that is literally the film. It's a very well done script, and I do think the acting was very good, but I did find it quite boring. As far as an Oscar film's concerned, it's very speaky and wordy, and even with kind of intercutting kind of scenes of flashbacks and stuff like that, doesn't really save it from the fact that for me, it's kind of, it's in the same vein as Fences. It's a stage play that's just been put on screen and is in one very small area for the entire film.
I still haven't seen it. I again, my Cineworld didn't show it. So they, anyone in the UK, Cineworld's done this amazing promotion where you can go and catch the films you missed that are up for Oscars from, I think, next week. And I replied saying, we didn't show half these anyway. Woman Talking's not been shown at my Cineworld, neither has Tar. And they had the cheek to make out that people have been missing them, which is frustrating.
I'm so surprised about Tar. That seemed to have a very big release.
Tar's getting a lot of traction,
maybe that's just
actually.
London. I don't know.
Tar, so I'm gonna. It'll be cutting it fine if I can make it to either of them. But knowing then there'll be like 12 p.m. midweek screenings, and they'll be like, oh look, no one turned up. But any others, Tate?
No, that's genuinely my list of films I've watched this month. I did also watch TV shows, so I continued watching Last of Us, continued watching His Dark Materials, and also started watching The Bear.
That's meant to be good.
How are you getting on with His Dark Materials?
I am 2 episodes into the final season. I mean, I've loved the previous seasons. I love the books as well. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I finished it not that long ago, and it's been worth the wait. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
There we go.
Right, so Charlie, we'll come to yours last because you're the guest, so we'll end on the high note.
I have so many.
Also, you have a lot more.
I'm not going to go through them all, don't worry.
I was on a very weird start. Like the start of the month just carried on as normal for me, and then it just hit a break with a lot of stuff happening, and I was like, I just needed to zone out for a few weeks. So after last one, I'm not going to plug January, but just because we do it the last day, this is important. So I watched True Lies on the 31st of January. Obviously, we were doing the James Cameron stuff, and then there's been so much Arnold Schwarzenegger in January. Terminator films, True Lies. And I kept wanting to go through a few of his other films, ones I've not seen that I've owned for years. So on the 1st of February, it was a Thursday night. I was in the mood. One of my approaches for this year is to watch a lot more of the films that I've bought that I don't own. I've got a list that was sat comfortably in the 130s for quite a while. Obviously, I'll still buy some and then it goes back up. And I got it down to about 103, 101. So there has been progress. But I did a double bill of The Last Action Hero, if anyone's seen that, and Total Recall. Now, I'd never seen Total Recall. I had seen so much about it over the years. And I thought it was okay, but I loved Last Action Hero. It's not for everyone. It's very cheesy. It's as 90s as you're going to get. It's 90s Arnie, but it was a lot of fun. And there's been a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff, and I needed to sort of not cleanse the palate per se, but I just thought I've watched a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger recently. I went on my Letterboxd stats, and he was my top actor for 2023 with like 8 films inside a month. I was like, okay, let's switch things up. So then on the 3rd, I sat down and I watched The Whale finally. Obviously, it got its cinema release. Cineworld actually did show that one. Thank God. I went with my dad. He really wanted to watch it. I was very mixed on it, if I'm going to be truthfully honest. I think everyone's going to have a completely different experience watching that film. So I loved Brendan Fraser in it. I absolutely despised Sadie Sink in it. Whether that's meant to be intentional or not, I just thought if there was a devil and it was in child form, it was her in that. And I think it was that. Let's get a teenage actress, not who's popular, but it's like, who's on the up. Strange Things, naturally. Obviously, this would have been shot way before season 4 came out, but I was just there was things I really liked and there were some things I didn't, and I wasn't. I don't think I'd see it again, but I appreciate it. It's like what you said when talking, right? It's the jump from stage to screen. And I think that's a much harder jump than others would think. And that night, I was in such a, not downer, obviously it's a pretty depressing film. I watched Singing in the Rain as soon as I got home. Don't ask why or how. I'd never seen it.
Interesting
I've
contrast.
had it.
That is such a weird double
for a
bill.
while. I know. I was just like, I kind of need something that's maybe a bit more uplifting, even for me. And this is like midnight, and I was like, okay, I need a sub 2-hour film. What ones haven't I seen? And I'd heard loads of rave reviews about not just Singing in the Rain as a film, but its 4K disc from last year. I got on Amazon on offer for like £10, and a lot of reviews saying it's one of the best ever 4K transitions ever done. Obviously, Babylon's at the back of my mind still, which was influence is an understatement by that film, I guess I can say now. But I absolutely loved it, and I even wept a bit. So that was me watching Singing in the Rain. And
Sorry,
you know,
I want
I'm
to
not
just
the
very
biggest
quickly.
musicals.
I was going to say, I just want to jump in. I forgot. I have actually seen Babylon this month as well. I didn't write it
Yes,
down.
me too, and it's at the top of my list to talk about.
Well, it is out, and I mean, its vinyl's out soon. It's not cheap, but obviously it's a long soundtrack. It's got a comment by Dave. The way I was life changing for me, I think being a bit hit me hard. I'm in no hurry to see it again. I'm with you on that, Dave. It is. I think everyone's going to react differently to a film like that. I think it's very sensitive sub-material. I'm quite honest in my approach to films like that. That some of it wasn't easy watching, but I think for me, the root of everything is just Brendan Fraser and what he's been through in his personal life, aside from acting. So. It was very different. My dad really enjoyed it. My sister went the next day. She also really liked it, even though both of them said to me they thought the film would be about him losing weight throughout, which I didn't want to obviously correct them before I knew, because obviously when the film was announced, that was the description. Obviously, it wasn't that. Following Singing in the Rain, on Sunday the 5th, I watched Knock at the Cabin Door, which I loved. I just didn't get the time
whiplash
to do
from your.
I know the Wales is Singing in the Rain is quite an experience, and
so can we predict like he probably watches like a kids friendly animated film next, just to
There's no animated film. There's no animated film. It could have been, but Knock at the Cabin. I loved it. I'm a big fan of Big Dave. He's one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. So him as an actor is just amazing for me, and I love that he got a leading role. And I didn't realize Rupert Grint was in it, which really caught me off guard. But that is worth watching. People want something a bit original. And then, I don't want to say disaster struck. Titanic got its re-release. Now,
it's all over the place.
If anyone was curious, so obviously we were finishing the James Cameron retrospective. I missed. So I had plans to go on Friday the 12th Friday the 10th when it was meant to come out. Plans fell through. Moved to Saturday the 11th. Just in time for the Sunday live stream review with Sam and Paul. And I got to the car park. So I go to Resort World, if anyone knows that area. It's like by the NEC, basically. And I got stuck on a Saturday night getting in. I got in at 7:15 into the car park, and it got to 8:15. My showing started at 7:30, and they'd gridlocked the car park. They hadn't basically told anyone it was full, and everyone was stuck and stranded. So I missed my IMAX screening of Titanic. So when it got to the review, I hadn't seen Titanic, which I very embarrassingly said on the review because it was live. The one
you
that
had
was
never
live,
seen it.
I'd seen it when I was like 7 or 8,
Right.
but I hadn't been able to rewatch it to end the series on, which is quite bad. But luckily, Paul and Sam nailed it. And so eventually my plans got moved to that Friday the 17th, which it was at the cinema. It was gone out of IMAX. Ant-Man had come out that day. We watched it in 3D. And it was genuinely one of the most unbelievable cinema experiences in my life. There were times when I was laughing, which I got maybe told off that. Obviously, when you're in a deep meme culture like me, going to watch the Titanic is going to be a bit different to maybe other people in the room. And like you could see people coming in and you could just be like Leonardo DiCaprio fan. They were young when it came out 25 years ago, and it's that connection. And obviously, Billy Zane, you first see the weeping child, and I just burst out laughing because I knew exactly what was going to happen with Billy Zane. So it was amazing to see on the big screen. Generally, one of the best ones I've ever seen at a cinema. If I'm going to be honest, it was incredible. It was a really good night, and it was just good. I just didn't get to see it in IMAX, but third time lucky, and it's gone out of cinemas. So I think that's why there's no film from the 5th to 17th. That's a 12-day gap. That's insane for me. There was a lot happening at that point with work and other stuff, probably football as well. But I don't know what on earth had gone. I just didn't see anything. I think I really wanted to watch Titanic as well, which made it worse because it was like, you go to put a film on, this isn't the Titanic. So that's kind of what happened there. Following the 17th, I watched Ant-Man on the 19th, the Sunday morning screening. that was an experience. I wouldn't recommend the review, if I'm being honest, because I felt really bad. I was sort of slating my friend for liking it, which I didn't really want to do. But I have incredibly high hopes on its failures moving forward, which will be my final statement on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But we'll bring it to the box office later, because I think there's something else happening behind the scenes that no one knows about. And then Ant-Man was such a lull. Work was an awful week. You have to end it on a high. At this point, I guess a metaphorical high of a bear. Cocaine Bear came out on Friday. I watched it Friday night. I absolutely loved it. The cinema was packed, which I didn't think it would be. I thought it'd be like 10 like film bros or something, but it was just packed of normal people. Really caught me off guard. Then yesterday I watched Rocky because the 4K version came, so I'm going to do one a week until all 4 have arrived over the next month. Hopefully Zavi continue to send me them early. I don't know if they're meant to. And then this morning I watched Creed because I've got to watch. So yeah, doing Rocky to Creed was a very weird whiplash because it's like, you just, forgot about the next sort of 40 years that followed. So yeah, I did Creed this morning and I'm probably going to do Creed. If I can fit in Creed 2, I'll do it tomorrow before the screening on Tuesday for Creed 3. But yeah, that was my weird month. Again, lots of weird highs and lows.
Yeah.
The only one I'm
extreme.
intrigued about, because I'll be perfectly honest, I've been avoiding everything Ant-Man related. I know that it isn't the most well-received film so far.
I think my biggest issues come from I love the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think the approach to the third film, it wasn't an Ant-Man film. It's trying to tell a bigger story.
Just to be sure, you haven't seen it.
No,
yeah, that's why I'm trying to be careful what I say.
Yeah, that's fine. Just so I know.
The best analogy I've seen is like, imagine if Thanos was for some reason in Iron Man 3. That's the sort of go-to thing I've seen, which is.
Oh, I see.
Do you see where and again, like,
so it's a
because again, maybe it's just there's clearly a lot of behind the scenes that's going to come out, because I know that there were reshoots like literally a month ago, because obviously I'm in autograph groups and loads of people were getting like Paul Rudd on the streets of LA, and when I saw photos of them all with Paul Rudd, that's the final scene of the film. So they've obviously switched the ending at like insane last minute notice, but I don't know. I don't mind. I don't mind the second Ant-Man film. I still quite enjoy it. I just think it just didn't feel like an Ant-Man film to me. I don't know. That's me just being a weirdo. Not everyone likes Ant-Man as much as I do. But I don't even want to say I'm tired of Marvel. It's not that. It's just something behind the scenes. I think. I think there's a humongous big change coming to Marvel that none of us probably is going to happen. It's not me saying I know anything about that. I just think something's happening behind the sceens at the moment that we don't know about.
Maybe.
If I hear one more person say they've got Marvel fatigue, I actually might scream.
I don't. But obviously, there's nothing out till May, and it's Guardians 3, so I'm not going to be moaning because there's no date for Secret Invasion either.
No,
that's the one I've been wanting to watch the most for ages.
I think they're going to spread things out a little bit now, and I think that is a very wise move.
Yeah,
it's been a bit Marvel heavy over the last year or so.
Pay their CGI artists.
Well, pay anyone who works on a film.
Yes,
in any capacity. Shall I start my endless list?
Yeah, go for it.
How long have we got?
No, I'm actually only going to go over the new releases because I have done a lot of.
I mean, go for older films if you want.
Go for all of them. Honestly,
I don't actually have the list of all of them up, but I have been watching some past Oscar winners just to get me back in the mood, ready for the Academy Awards. I rewatched Coda, I rewatched Belfast, I rewatched La La Land. What else? I rewatched 3 Billboards for the first time since it came out in the cinema, actually. So that was a great one to revisit.
I have a quick question, actually. So we are 1 year removed from Coda winning Best Picture. Do you think it still stands up to that? Do you think that there's any from that year that could have stood up to it? I know that Power of the Dog has kind of disappeared completely off kind of everyone's tongues. So
yeah, I think for me, if it was my personal choice, I would have given it to Dune. I think Dune should have won everything it was nominated for. But I think Coda is a phenomenal film, and not many films hit me on an emotional level, but when I watch Coda, it full on breaks me. Like I I actually FaceTimed my mum after watching it, and she was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong? What's happened?" And I was like, "I just watched Coda again." And she was like, "You need to stop watching it because it just keeps making me cry so much." I think it's incredible, and I think Troy Kotza's win was 100% justified. I think I really really love it, and I think it gets a lot of unnecessary sort of bad press. I think it's a brilliant film. But I would have liked to have seen Dune win, but that's okay because Dune is part of a bigger picture, and I'm sure its day will come.
So again, it's Oppenheimer, though, isn't it? So unfortunately, I've had to pick
Dune
my
Part
side
2
there.
is, but
yeah, whether Messiah's the big one.
Messiah is a better book, so we'll see. Yeah, so I've just been rewatching a lot of sort of like past Oscar winners, and I thought, given the success of Banshees, I thought I would give Three Billboards another watch. Always sort of deserves to be rewatched anyway. So, yeah. But on my new releases this month, I'm going to start with the film I gave 1 star because it's always quite fun to start with the bad film. Is Netflix Bank of Dave. I don't know if either of you have seen it or heard of it.
No, not
I've heard of the name. I didn't watch it, but I'd seen about it.
So this was recommended to me by a group of people at work. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like quite a nice sort of like cozy, easy watch. Oh my God, it's absolutely just so bad. I was like, I don't know why anybody has recommended this to me because it is so bad. So that got 1 star. What else have I watched? So I've watched If These Walls Could Sing. I've actually watched quite a few documentaries. I wanted to try and get a few in in award season. So I watched that, and I also watched A House Made of Splinters, which is nominated for the best documentary feature at the Oscars. That's on BBC iPlayer, and it was really, really good. Not a super easy watch. It's a very heavy subject, but yeah, it's a good one.
What is it about, actually?
A House Made of Splinters. It's about a children's home in Ukraine. So it's about children who are removed from their families due to unemployment or alcoholism or whatever the situation may be, and it's like a care home, not a care home, like a residential place where they stay for like 90 days whilst their court hearings are happening. It's heavy going. It's not one that you'd be like, oh, I really want to watch it again, because it's not a happy subject, but it's very, very well done. Where am I? So I saw Babylon, which was probably my favorite film I've watched this month. I had incredibly low expectations going in because it just got the weirdest reactions on its first release. It got some people obsessed with it, some people really hated it. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. I wasn't actually going to go and see it at the cinema because I was like, it's really long. I'm not sure if it's really going to be my kind of thing. But I got encouraged to go and see it by a friend, and then it just blew my mind. I was like, this film is a work of art. Like, I just thought it was brilliant, and I have not stopped listening to the soundtrack since walking out of the cinema. So good. You both seen it?
I have. I love the soundtrack. I'm in love with this. So when I was going to, was it this month, the Arsenal City game? I was in Manchester for an Arsenal game, and I was driving back at, no joke, like 11:30, 12 at night. I set off and I got home at like 3. And I just had the Babylon score because it's a long soundtrack as well, which is great. But that was pretty intense to drive to make sure I'm on the limit and stuff. Obviously, I don't drink a football game, so I wasn't limiting that sense. It was more speed than I'm talking about. But Babylon's a weird one because I'm glad you brought that, because there's this insane spectrum of, and I think some people have made it their personality to hate it. Some have made it their personality to like it, and like people are going mad if you're in the middle, which is equally as insane.
But I feel like the exact same thing happened with La La Land. I think Chazelle really divides people with his films, especially those two.
I think that was liked a lot more. I was the minority.
La La Land was liked more.
Yeah, I was in a minority disliking that, but then I like First Man, but I haven't rewatched it since, which I don't know what that means. I watched that very tired in London, actually, after a London Film Festival screening. I think I did First Man straight after, oh God, what's Beautiful Boy? That was a pretty intense double bill.
I had to go straight home after Beautiful Boy. I was like, I'm checked out now. I can't do any more today.
Babylon's. I think a lot of people had different expectations for what they thought Babylon would be. I think some people thought it would be like, oh, it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but we're on a film set for 3 hours. And then I think some thought it was going to be, oh, is it going to be Wolf of Wall Street for 3 hours? And it's sort of none of those, which I think is good. It's
like none of those, but all of those, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like excess, but it's also 1920s Hollywood. So it's like
how it has only got those few nominations is beyond me. I mean, why is Margot Robbie not on that list? Her performance is incredible. I don't think she would have won, but I think she should have been recognized for that performance. I really think it's just mind-blowingly good.
So I've always been a massive fan of Chazelle. I mean, I've preached how good Whiplash is. I've preached how good La La Land is, and I thought First Man was okay for what it was. With this film, I liked it. I really did, but I didn't like the ending, and I like Chazelle endings, and I think this one. No, it goes on for too long, and I know
there's 2 James Cameron references in the ending.
Yeah.
I mean, how great that was to plug the James Cameron stuff.
Did anybody expect to go in and watch Babylon and see a shot from Avatar on their screen?
No.
that was a very pleasant surprise for me.
It did make me want to watch Singing in the Rain more, because people, when they started singing it in the film, and I was like, wait, was Singing in the Rain from the 20s? Like, is this a remake of an old film like Scarface? And I was really like confused. And then when I watched Singing in the Rain, I was like, oh, it nabbed a few scenes.
I mean, Singing in the Rain must be Damien Chazelle's favorite film. La La Land is like an homage to it. Yeah. I mean, he obviously really just has a lot of passion for that era of Hollywood, which is nice to see. A lot of people wouldn't. A lot of modern day filmmakers wouldn't talk about like big movie musicals anymore. They're not cool to be a fan of. So yeah, but I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
But I'd say some of the acting in the film is just incredible, like really, really good performances and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I thought. I know it's a tricky subject with him at the moment. I love Brad Pitt in it. I don't want to say he's award worthy nominated in it, but I didn't like Margot Robbie in it. I don't know why. I just didn't.
That's the reaction. I know, straight away.
And it was just. And I forgot that actually played Manny. I loved Manny in it as well. I thought
he was very good as well.
I don't know what it was about the Margot Robbie thing. I'm not saying she's been overcast at all, no, because some people are saying that, which is unfair. But I just didn't like her character. I didn't dislike the performance. I just disliked the character.
No, that's fair enough. I don't think anyone in the film is particularly likable.
Yeah, and then
I don't know. Tobey Maguire's character was incredibly likable.
About to say that.
I'd waited like 2 hours 40 minutes for Tobey Maguire to pop up, and there were rumors back in the day. It was like Tobey Maguire's meant to be playing Charlie Chaplin. That was a rumor. Do you not remember that rumor? And I was there like, this surely isn't real.
Yeah,
and I was just. And then it was this weird. I was like, Tobey Maguire gone to that film and thought, I'm bored of Spider-Man things being said at me. I'm going to be an absolute freak and give them their 10 minutes. And he was amazing.
Even his performance was just. We've never seen him do anything like that before. It was so exciting to see him play this absolutely like batshit character. I loved it.
He was turning up to screenings in LA, apparently, just giving out drinks to people. They weren't even press screenings; they were just normal screenings.
He's so weird.
And you could just tell that he probably had more enjoyment doing that than probably, well, not the last 10 years, but just like he's been doing poker for 10 years. Like, I just need him back in films. I hope Spider-Man's a way for him to come out now and realize that people want to see him in films. And I think Babylon's in that.
I think it'll give him a bit of confidence and also a bit of closure over that kind of period of his life. Because it'd be nice if we can see him doing slightly more ambitious stuff. Because he's a good actor. He just doesn't necessarily get the opportunities.
Yeah. His best mate Leo keeps getting all the good roles, that's why.
Well, he's a pretty good actor too. Okay, so next I saw Argentina 1985. Another. I'm basically catching up on all the Oscar nominees that I've not seen yet. It's really good. I really wish I'd seen it in the cinema. It's one of those films that requires 100% of your concentration, and when you're watching it at home, I personally find that quite difficult. The same with All Quiet. I would really like to see All Quiet at the cinema, because the first time I saw, I've only seen it once, and I found it quite hard to really get sucked into whilst watching it at home. So it'd be nice to, if I can try and see that on the big screen as well. That'd be really good. Couple of slightly easier watches that I've seen over the last few weeks. Your Place or Mine on Netflix. It's the Reese Witherspoon, Ashton Kutcher. We've gone back in time. It's 2010, and we've got a really trashy rom-com, and it's exactly that. It's yeah, I mean, the kind of films I grew up watching and loved, and it ticks all the boxes. It's really cheesy, really predictable, has a really cheesy soundtrack, but it's yeah, it's good fun if that's what you're into. And then yesterday I also saw What's Love Got to Do with It, which is the Lily James rom-com. That's not even
good?
I don't even think it's a rom-com. It's not that funny. It's more just a romantic drama, but it is good. It's a really nice sort of look into, obviously it's about arranged marriages and the culture clash of a Pakistani family living next door to an English family, and you know, like that kind of that culture clash that they have, and she's sort of making a documentary all about it. My only issue with it is I have no idea what the point of Emma Thompson's character is. She's obviously she's great. I mean, she's great in everything, but she kind of is just there to act like the bumbling fool all the way through it, which really bothers me because I'm a bit like, I don't really know what your purpose is here. She doesn't bring anything extra to the story. She's just a bit of like an overbearing, controlling mum, and it's I don't know. She can't. I think she was kind of written in as a selling point for the film rather than bringing anything of any sort of depth to the story. But yeah, it's really good. It's really enjoyable. It's the same producers as Love Actually and Bridget Jones, so you know exactly what you're getting. There's a lot of stunning shots of London, as there always is in those kind of films. It's very sort of, especially living in London, it's a very sort of makes London look very romantic and very beautiful, and you know, all of that. So yeah, I really liked it. So I saw that and Marcel the Shell at the cinema yesterday, so that was quite a fun double bill. And then Ant-Man Quantumania, which I absolutely loved. I give it 4.5 stars. I'm going to see it again on Tuesday. I think everybody just needs to shut up about it. So they're the new releases that I've seen this month. But
sorry, 4.5 stars out of 10 or
out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I only lost half a star, and you haven't seen it, so I'm not going to tell you why that is. George can probably guess.
I actually can't, just because I don't want to diss your opinion. That's why. But it's like I can't think of one glaring issue.
You're
That's
talking to
problem.
Someone who, up until Endgame came out, their favorite Marvel film was Age of Ultron. So I don't think I'm easily offended when it comes to Marvel. I'm aware.
I just don't know what the thing would be to drop it down from 5 to 4.5.
Well, I'm not going to say.
Yeah, put it in the private chat.
I can tell you after.
Put it in the private chat. I'll never read. I'm curious though. But no, that's a good. I mean, do we want to talk? Not Ant-Man, like not the film, but can I talk about the box office? Because I'm a weird of numbers. It's broke a record today. I never thought would be broken. And there's a second record in there which I didn't know existed, which scares me. So Ant-Man has beaten Zack Snyder. The Zack Snyder army is going to be out in full upsetness today. At the highest percentage drop off for a film that had $100 billion opening weekend. So for what that means in not English, but for those that don't
in
follow
layman's terms,
Batman
in Charlie
v Superman,
language, what does that mean?
Well, Batman v Superman had an insane opening. I want to say maybe even like 180 mil. It was insane. And then its second week drop off was the higher percentage drop off, the less money it makes the second week. But obviously, you know, a film that everyone wants to watch in the first week and no one ever does the second week normally says that the core fans went and then no one else did. Ant-Man got 70% drop, which beat Batman v Superman's record, which has existed for 7 years for $100 million film plus. And I'd never really follow stuff like that because, you know, if a film has a $200 million opening weekend and drops 70%, that opening weekend it's still made. The second week's still going to be 60 mil. It's an insane drop off, but the percentage is a fair but also unfair way to compare it. So Ant-Man's took that record this week, which I think is very scary for Marvel, only because its competition was a bear on cocaine. Whereas Batman v Superman was at the same time. I can't remember which one came first. But it was Civil War, then Batman, or Batman and Civil War. I cannot remember.
It was a big time
so
period for.
it always
superheroes.
depends on the percentage. And for example, Avatar 2 opened to like 90 million. Some people thought it meant it flopped, and now it's the third highest grossing film in history. So that shows, it's not about percentage, it's about how does the film perform across X amount of weeks. And the film that has the record, which I'm wrapping my head around, and Charlie, you'll be even more surprised when you hear this, the film with the highest ever percentage drop off for $100 million plus opening weekend is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Really?
But then you got to think,
that because everybody went to see it in the first week?
This is it. Like at the time, Harry Potter had the highest opening weekend in cinema history. So I get that, but also that was the American box office weekend, and we all know that Harry Potter is British. But I just didn't, and that was 72%, but it still ended up grossing 1.3 billion and was the third highest grossing film in history. So quite irrelevant. And also, I want to say that July 2011, there was a massive film that came out straight after Harry Potter, and then Harry Potter went back to the top. So again, it's one of those sort of weird weekend things, but basically the article that's come out says that Thor had a massive drop off, like 69%. They compared it to Black Widow. Black Widow was Marvel's highest at 69.8, but it says straight away released on Disney Plus on the same day, and it was COVID. So the worry now with Marvel, and this is kind of where I'm leading to a question. I don't want to sit here and slag off Ant-Man. They've obviously now delayed the Marvels till November, which I think isn't great. I think Marvels would have bombed on its July release. Oppenheimer, Barbie, Mission Impossible, Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
there's literally no space for it.
Yeah, and now it's in November, sandwiched between Dune Part 2 and The Hunger Games, but I think Marvel would fare better in that window.
Such a good year ahead of us. I'm so excited.
So Tate, you've not seen the film, so I'm not gonna, obviously we're not gonna talk story, but visually, the visual effects for me is a big thing now. I mean, my logic is, and this isn't because I watched Avatar, but a $200 million film should not look like a low budget episode of Doctor Who.
And I want to add, I've heard that the budget for the visual effects were shifted onto Wakanda Forever.
So this is what's come out.
That doesn't surprise me, because Wakanda Forever is also all mostly set underwater, so that would have been a much more time-consuming job.
Dare I say, you're the multimedia conglomerate that is Disney. You're pumping so much money into Marvel, like a ridiculous amount. You know that your movies are going to make money if they are a good product. Why don't
I'm not gonna sit here and like always defend Disney, because I know that they do make mistakes. But that being said, in their defense, last year they had a massive shift. Their CEO got handed back to the guy it was with before. They had a really unsuccessful year with their animated films. They didn't win one award at the Annies last night, which is unheard of for Disney. Like they've been hit on hard times, which is not the right thing to say. But they're struggling at the moment, and they're finding their feet again with Bob Iger taking back the head seat at the table. So,
and this is
bit
important.
Of defense there for them.
And I'm kind of with this, that what's happening in the VFX houses. So for some people that aren't familiar, that you don't work for Marvel or for Disney, you work for a CGI company, a VFX house. They get contracted to production. Now, what Marvel do, like Star Wars, like most, they'll just go on essentially a rolling contract. We'll do Wakanda Forever. When that's locked in and done, we will then go on to the Marvels. So there was someone at my university who came in for a guest talk. He's called Christopher Townsend. He's a VFX producer. He went to the uni I did, so do the talk for the future students, blah, blah, blah. And I think he did Age of Ultron. And then he went on to, no, ignore me. He did the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. No. Basically, he did one way around, that he would basically finish a Marvel project and start up the next one. And this is back when it was 3 films a year and it was very manageable. So in theory, he'd do one in those 3. And you'd imagine that everyone shifts. What's happening now with the TV stuff that's coming out, there's just too much for them to do. And because of the conditions of Marvel projects, and I'm going to say this is Phase 4's issue, not Disney. This is Marvel Studios, this massive issue now. Because they don't know what they're doing in the sense of direction changes and stuff, they'll pop in the room and be like, we need to change this colored laser in this scene. It might be a 5-second shot. that's going to take someone a week or 2 weeks to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing this a lot now, and they're doing it at such short turnaround, it's becoming unmanageable. The people aren't being paid enough. So, for example, Ant-Man, there are obviously changes needed for Wakanda Forever, which I think looked pretty much great, bar maybe the final act where, you know, it was on water, it's a bit different. They've took all the houses that were on Ant-Man away from Ant-Man to finish Black Panther. So Ant-Man's now had, I would say, not incomplete VFX, but bad VFX. And it probably means the houses on that have been horrifically overworked. So I'm glad they've moved the Marvels, because I think what's going to happen with Iger back, the first announcement, is that there's going to be 2 Marvel shows this year, right? Secret Invasion and Loki. Is it Loki? And then Ironheart's next year with... Oh God, what was the other one that's filmed? I've forgotten about. There's 2 shows next year. 2 shows. The Echo. Sorry.
Yes.
So the first thing Iger's going to do is clearly put the house in order. Guardians, I trust to be fine. It's James Gunn. They know what they're doing. Marvel's in November. They've now got a lovely window of length to put a plan together. I think what's going to happen, and this is just me doing a prediction, I think things are happening behind the scenes. I think at Comic-Con this year, there will be a revised phase plan moving forward. I think there'll be a lot of changes. And I know that Bob Iger, I know Tate, you're going to miss Celebration now, but obviously Charlie will be there. They're going to be announcing some new Star Wars films, and other reports are saying that Iger wants Star Wars back at cinemas. He wants less stuff on Disney Plus for everyone, but he basically is saying there's too much Marvel and not enough Star Wars, which I think Star Wars is about right at the moment, but I get why we want Star Wars on the big screen, because to me, end the Mandalorian with the film. Yeah, end the Mandalorian with the film. It will make $2 billion right now, guaranteed. And I'm sure that Bob Iger will push for that, whereas Bob Chapek really wanted streaming Disney Plus to move. And like we all joke about Netflix, it's not profitable. You can't make money off a streaming service. And
he closed all our Disney stores. I hate him.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this is it. And there's a lot of changes. He wanted to make, a third of the staff redundant on the weekend when they sacked him. That was the final straw, to make an entire third of a company redundant, because the losses he was making.
Yes, he's flawed, but he knows that Disney need to pull people back in. And I know that some people are all for these sequels, and I know a lot of people are very against them, but we've got another Toy Story and another Frozen coming. They're going to literally pull millions of fans back into Disney. He knows what he's doing. He's a very smart man.
If you get it right, it's an easy billion. And kind of in line with Carl's comment, it's crazy the drop off of Marvel. You could basically skip. And this is what's kind of annoying me when they call it Phase 4, is that there was never an announcement it was a Phase 4 until Comic-Con. They're like, oh, by the way, this actually is Phase 4 and it ends in like 2 months. Yeah. I'm sort of there like, well, Guardians is better off being Phase 4 because it's the character pieces, and Ant-Man should be Phase 5. And there's so many weird things happening.
But still on the Marvel train of thought, I did see something today which implied that we might be getting another appearance from Shang-Chi before the end of the year, which is I think is very exciting.
I think it'll be Marvels because of the credits.
I think so.
But again, Shang-Chi was, Phase 4's it's gone very quick, but I think there was too much too soon. And if they learn from that and make the correct improvements, then they could get back. But I think what this Ant-Man weekend has done today, I think has signified a big, big turning point where you will have the Marvel fans, you have the people that watch the Marvel films. They all went last week, as they do. I'm saying no one went. Obviously, it still made 30 million, but the drop-off is a very, very, very big note, which is the people, the general audience, aren't interested in coming back. They don't want to watch this. So obviously, Guardians will be safe. Guardians will be
I think Guardians could potentially be the one that pulls a lot of people back in. There's a lot of people who would say they like Guardians but don't like the MCU. I think it kind of is quite standalone. Yeah, so I think there'll be that. I think Guardians will do well. Also, the trailer, it looks so good.
It looks very good.
Yeah, James Gunn has just put everything into it. So I am,
and I think he'll
both excited and terrified because I have a feeling I'm going to lose my favorite character.
We know Big Dave's not coming back. I don't know I think anyone could die in that film, which is great if this is the final Guardians film and you genuinely think anyone could die. I think that normally is a good way about going things.
Maybe they'll all die. It'll just be the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Then Chris Pratt will return in a spin-off because he needs to after Mario didn't work out for him. Very different. Mario
not ready
looks amazing.
To talk about Mario yet.
Mario looks so good, except the main voice actor. But Should we go through a couple of comments? Because I don't want to harp on Marvel too much.
Yeah.
Dave had fun with it though.
Yeah, good.
Which
You
is
could
great.
rely on
So
you, Dave.
we're going to go out to a couple of others. Although he did like Wakanda Forever better of the Blue Water People movies I've seen. I unfortunately, I say it's got a better score because the Black Panther Wakanda Forever score is absolutely banging. And we've now got no Ludwig Göransson for Mandalorian season 3 or Creed 3 due to Black Panther and Oppenheimer, which is I was quite sort of devastated about, but then it's Oppenheimer, so it's okay. Right. So quick one for Carl. Do we feel Knock at the Cabin needed some more twists and turns? I believe I'm the only one that's in this. I would say I know it was based off a book, which I think was quite a new book in itself. I believe it made a lot of changes to that. So I'd imagine people that follow the source material probably were surprised. But for me, I think it was just about enough. There was a couple of twists per se I didn't see coming, but maybe it could be deemed predictable. So I would be curious.
Would you say it's a horror film? How scary is it?
Or a thriller.
I'm quite put off by how scary it could potentially be.
I would say it's intense. It's very intense, and there's
it's a thriller, right? It's not like full on horror. It's more like
I don't want to say thriller. I mean, it could. You know what we spoke earlier about? It's all set in one location. I mean, I know he did that with Old, right? That was all at a beach, wasn't it? This is like it's all at a cabin, and it's done from the perspective of a gay couple who are married with their adopted daughter who are on holiday, and these people turn up, basically say like the fate of the world lies in your hands. I really enjoyed what they did with it. I like those sort of films. I don't want to say it's a thriller. It's not a horror. It's quite mysterious in this sort of way. It would have been weird to have reviewed it because I'd have wanted to have done spoilers because there's some really good stuff. But it is worth watching it, I think, for the actors involved, and it's great to see Rupert Grint in things. I think a lot.
Knight seems to be working with him a lot at the moment. Yeah. He's is it Servant? Is that what it's called?
TV series he worked on with him, didn't he?
So I think they might have become quite fond of working with each other, which is nice.
Yeah, and it's great for. I mean, we know that obviously Daniel Radcliffe, of course, not Radcliffe. Sorry, Radcliffe's getting mixed up the next man out then. Daniel Radcliffe is taking bonkers projects, which is amazing. I know that there's always those silly rumors that Cursed Child's in production. I feel like I hear it once a month. It's not going to happen. It's
every like 6 to 8 weeks, it goes back on Variety.
And I get now with Hogwarts Legacy, which I am addicted to at the moment, which has been amazing to play.
Please don't say anything.
I'm not saying anything, but
have PS4s.
I think because Wizarding World, I guess you could say now, is going to be at the forefront of media for a while. I think we're going to get more film rumors, and if I'm going to give my own 2 cents, I think if Warner Brothers were smart, which they should be, they need to buy it as an IP because what they've shown that game potential, which, and I'm not getting into the politics of J.K. Rowling, her not being involved in a game, which is the best Wizarding World thing since the last film came out, compared to her trilogy, which should have been a 5-film quadrilogy, I don't know. Which should have been amazing, which should have been incredible, because the Grindelwald stuff is some of the best ever in Harry Potter. For her to mess that up so bad and then come on and do a different game, which I think is amazing, I think it shows that this series can exist without her input in a really finite, polite way.
But you said if Warner Brothers are clever. Well, they've just announced that apparently there's more Lord of the Rings films in the works. So I'm not sure if they really are that clever, if I'm honest.
And this is, I think, if they were to go out and buy those rights, if they could, they own not DC film rights, they own DC Comics, the entity, the company, they own DC Comics. Mm-hmm. There's a way to legally do that with Harry Potter. I would love them. I bet they've probably already tried it in the past.
Yeah.
But to me, it made me really miss. And I'm not here to slag off the Fantastic Beasts films, but it made me not. And I'm not saying I miss Hogwarts either because they pop up in there. I missed like good storytelling in there, and I always get annoyed thinking about Fantastic Beasts because it's not Fantastic Beasts' fault. It's for shoehorning a Grindelwald trilogy into some films called Fantastic Beasts, which is unfair on what the first film was. It's unfair what they then became. It's all a mess. But Carla's currently playing the game. It's amazing to play. I've finished the main story. I've done the side quests. I'm just trying to mop up the world, but there's a lot of mopping up to do. I don't know if I have the time and patience to be just when what RPGs like you go and do the same side thing. I need to go collect this thing and this thing. And
I've still got over a month to wait.
It's worth the wait. And the thing is, you can't really have spoilers for it because it's an RPG.
True.
But I was
I
surprised
still
at
just
how.
would like to know as little as possible going in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just get jealous.
Well,
I was
set in
surprised at how
Hogwarts.
invested.
Sorry, big spoiler.
Oh, okay.
I was
Spoiler.
surprised at how
It was
invested
set
I
in
was into the
Middle-earth.
story. This is it. Also, and here's my theory: if anyone is into Harry Potter, the reason why there's no Quidditch, ignore the nonsense you've read. It's clear as daylight that they're making a Quidditch game behind the scenes, and they're not going
I
to
hope
tell
so,
anyone.
because the Quidditch PlayStation 2 game was so cool.
This is it. They have the mechanics in this Hogwarts game for flying everything perfectly. You can literally go to the Quidditch pitch and fly around.
Do you think
can't play
DLC
it.
maybe?
No, they've said there'll be no DLC. I think they're not dumb. If they just do one Quidditch game, like a game of FIFA, don't need to do it every year, put all the fictional Harry Potter teams in, put the international teams in, put the houses in, you're going to have a massive game. And I think now that this game's been so successful, they could quite easily do that. You know, there was a Quidditch Through the Ages was a book J.K. Rowling wrote. You actually have the history of the game. They could do a Quidditch game, and I think they're going to be working on it. I think the studio is called Portkey Games, which is basically just going to be Harry Potter stuff moving forward. So I think there'll be a Quidditch game announced, which is why it's such a big deal that it's not in this new game, because a lot of people, I don't think, have put two and two together. But yes, the PS2 game was amazing.
Yeah.
Harry Potter aside, though, we've got an Oscars question from Dave. Going back to the beginning, can Austin Butler steal, in my opinion, be a robbery? Best actor from Brendan Fraser.
I think it is a robbery if he steals it, but
Definitely
I think he
not.
has a good chance that he'll win it.
I think he's already won it, if I'm being honest. Now that he's won the BAFTA, and this is my thinking, Elvis is obviously an icon of music. And the way I would approach this sort of conversation is I thought Colin Farrell's was the BAFTAs to win. I thought Colin Farrell will win the BAFTA, Austin Butler the Oscar. The Irishman, yes, we're British, but the Irishman winning a BAFTA, home territory, American musical icon. The moment Austin Butler wins at BAFTA, I think it's done and dusted now. That if the British voters who, I mean, I know that there was the BAFTA So White stuff. The supporting actor ones, I think, threw me a bit. I'm not criticizing the performances. They were still both amazing at one.
Historically, they haven't been good predictors, though, have they?
This is it.
There's not really any crossover between BAFTA and the Oscars. It's
very
rare.
I think Butler's won it. I think Austin Butler's
100%. Austin Butler's got it in the bag. You
know what? When he first started doing the voice, I kept laughing. But you know what? I actually love it now, and he's had to come out and say he's not doing the voice in Dune. Which is amazing that he's had to clarify those comments.
People need to just leave him alone. Leave Austin Butler alone.
But I think because at the start he sort of joked about doing the voice, and now it's stuck with him. Even at BAFTA, he was still doing it, and I actually love him for it. I don't know why. If he's genuinely going to be stuck with that voice forever, not that
he won't. He's just in Elvis world at the moment.
Yeah, and
until the awards are done, he's still on the press tour basically for the.
Well, it's like Tropic Thunder, isn't it? He's like, I don't drop the voice, I do the DVD. and Robert Downey Jr. did that DVD commentary in character. I know Tropic Thunder's been on the news recently, which is great, but I think he's won.
I think he's a sure winner for it, and in my opinion, I think he's the worthy winner. Don't get me wrong, I think Brendan Fraser is incredible in The Whale, but I don't think we need to do the whole after everything he's been through. Yes, I know he's been through hell. I understand that, and I don't agree with career wins. I don't agree with sympathy wins. I think performance-wise, Austin Butler's portrayal as Elvis was absolutely flawless. And I think he's got it in the bag, and I can't wait to celebrate.
I think it was out of him and Farrell.
My opinion, no. I'd say I personally think that Fraser's performance is the best from this year, and I do think Austin Butler's is probably second best. But I don't think that if he won, it would be a career win. I think it would just be for the performance, because the performance itself was worthy of it.
No, I think you're probably right, but I do think there is an element of sympathy voting, and I don't necessarily agree with that. Who are the other two? Is it
Paul Mescal for After Sun?
Paul Mescal, because Paul Mescal was the big fight, wasn't it? It was going to be: is the fifth slot going to Paul Mescal or is it going to Tom Cruise?
It should have been Tom Cruise.
I haven't seen After Sun yet. I've heard amazing things about it. I haven't seen Living yet either, which I want to do, but I want to watch the original film first, which is why I've not seen it. I just I think it's
Living
been.
is incredible, and I
I
really
love Bill
wanted
Nye.
Bill Nye to win the BAFTA. I think his performance in Living seemed like that for me the most sort of like BAFTA-y performance of the 5 nominees. But I was also really that's mostly because I didn't think Austin Butler would get it. Out of like the others, I really wanted it to go to Bill Nighy. I would have quite liked them both to have won. But yeah, Living is amazing. I really, as anyone who follows me on Twitter will know, really didn't like After Sun. I think I don't like Paul Mescal's performance. I don't like the writing. I don't like the filming style. I think it is incredibly overhyped. And I cannot believe Paul Mescal's in there. That to me is just, it's a bit. I'm as shocked about that as everyone else is about Andrew Risborough. I'm like, what is he doing in that list? Like, what is happening? Should have been Tom Cruise.
Living is slow, but it's brilliant. I mean, listen, if Tom Cruise had been nominated, that'd have been amazing.
Or the guy from Babylon. You know, both of them are
Manny's
much more worthy of that nomination.
And yeah, it is. I've got a lot to catch up with before the talk. Basically, I've got a lot of films. I think even actress-wise, I've not even. I mean, I've not seen Tayte yet. That's the big fight. Is Michelle Yeoh versus, of course, Cate Blanchett. Now, the people I trust, I'm not slagging off the internet. The people I very much trust this have all said the same thing, that Cate Blanchett is by far the better performance. They're not slating Michelle Yeoh, but they are saying that Michelle Yeoh is it going to be the career Oscar versus the Blanchett performance? And because I'm not seeing that, I don't want to get involved in that scrap, but I think that's something that's going to go down to the wire. I know that the SGAs are tonight, which is SAGs, isn't it? Screen Actors Guild. PJs were last night, which everyone won.
The SAG Awards as well are usually the most telling for what's coming in the Oscars, especially that Best Ensemble award that usually leans towards what's getting Best Picture. So Everything Everywhere All at Once better be getting ready, because I think it's going to win.
I think so as well. I just want to throw in as well just a performance from last year that I think has very much gone under the radar, especially because it was his first acting performance onto film, and that was Felix Camara's in All Quiet. Unbelievable performance, the emotion shown, the acting ability.
Tayte, I actually remember you telling me about All Quiet at London Film Festival, right? You got a press screening for it, and I remember you saying it's like the best film of the year. It's gonna wipe the awards, and I was like, what's he talking about?
Can I talk about Netflix?
Everyone called me insane. I remember everyone's comments. Everyone was like, "Nah, it'll fade in."
Had we just seen Empire of Light, and we were like,
"Yeah,
what's Tayte banging on about, talking about some Netflix film?"
It's not even
laughing now.
It's not even at this film festival. What's he talking about?
Can I talk about it? So I saw All Quiet, I think, just after it came out. So there was no cinema-wide release. Someone tweeted me saying there was, and apparently I missed it, but there definitely wasn't locally, I guess. Maybe they use like London only asterisk 2 screens, like once a day.
They did show one screening in Swindon on the only IMAX screen in Swindon. And they did the
BFI IMAX about a month ago, because you get these emails, I was showing at BFI IMAX, All Quiet on the Western Front. Great. 2 days notice. No. I want to talk about Netflix really randomly. I'm not going to go on a tangent of abuse, but I love to. I hate Netflix as a company and what they stand for. They laid out from day one their 4 big Oscar hitters, and they specifically released these throughout December to buy into Oscar voting. Pinocchio on the 2nd. The 9th was Bardo. The 16th...
I really wanted to talk about Bardo, actually. Can we come back to that?
We can.
Yeah, we'll come back to Bardo, yeah.
Maybe it wasn't the 16th. Maybe it was, Pinocchio was the 9th, Bardo the 16th, Knives Out the 23rd, White Noise the 30th. All year long, these have been Netflix's big 4 to push for the Oscars for this year. They dropped All Quiet on the Western Front on Netflix. I want to say, was it start of November, Tayte? If that, it was a long time
start of
before.
November. Yeah.
And I remember watching it, and I said, "This is good. Like, this is amazing good." And I'm really big on war films, and especially getting the German authenticity was the big thing for this. And I've not read the book. I know a lot of people comment on that. What really caught me off guard, and what I really hate, is Netflix on their social media accounts. Yay, look at All Quiet on the Western Front. And I'm there like, you guys did nothing to promote that in this award season. I'm not saying awards are a farce. They can be overlooked. They can be marketing bought. But they had no intention of pushing that until it started picking up not even nominations, the long lists. When it was on the long list, they thought, hold on a minute, no one cares about White Noise. No one cares about Bardo. Knives Out's doing what we probably thought it could, a couple here and there, and the same with Pinocchio. And I find it really frustrating that, and it's nothing to do with the film's fault, it's not anything about the director, Edward Berger's amazing direction. It's what they choose to promote and what they won't. And it's going to really not frustrate me if they win the Oscar, because it's not going to win Best Film. But, and they're like, to me, it's like a middle finger. Like, you just happen to have had that film, and you didn't want to push it.
It's so nice to see a film doing well at the awards without a huge
Yeah.
campaign behind it. Like, this is generally because people have enjoyed watching it, and I think that's quite refreshing.
It was the same with Coda last year. Coda did not have a big campaign. It just picked up traction, and then suddenly it started winning things. And
then it won the big one.
I
do think the BAFTA.
I don't think All Quiet will win Oscar. What I'll say with BAFTA, I'm not saying BAFTA is biased at all. The British, we could say, certainly love a war film more so than America, but also, and I'm not going to call them all racist because it's not that at all. I, for the life of me, did not imagine everything everywhere winning almost anything at the BAFTAs. I just think there's something about the British voters that would watch a film like that. They'd see, like, I don't know, the butt plug scene or something. And I could just picture a lot of BAFTA voters being like, no.
Just with Everything Everywhere, it barely got a release over here. Like, no,
Exactly.
so I watched the BAFTAs with my family, and they've never even heard of it. They like it's an indie.
Can't buy it.
Actually, is an indie film. Like,
I had to literally
jump
onto a screening whilst I was in London, not even doing film stuff, and it was literally I've got work later, but do you know what? I'm just I'm going to try and get there and dart back.
Yeah, I went to see it on release week, and I was sat in Georgia. I think you've been in this screen in Cineworld in Leicester Square, the three-row
one,
30 seat cinema, like, and there was like 4 other people in there. It got no traction over here, so I'm not at all surprised that it didn't do well at BAFTA.
And it was months after America as well, because as usual, we had to wait for the who's going to pick it up, who's going to release it. Yeah, and
they like to make us wait.
I do think it will do a lot better, and I'm not ruling out anything from All Quiet. I know they've just actually announced some really good bit of news for once. Netflix is going to release it on 4K UHD on Blu-ray disc, which they don't ever do, which is great. It's not Criterion; it's a normal release. But I'm really not, because the packaging looks strange. It doesn't look like it's in a proper Blu-ray. It looks like it's in like a book, which I don't understand. But that's going to be on H&V for anyone curious, because I'll be picking that up.
And if it does pick up Best Picture at the Oscars, it will be the first film to ever win Best Picture for the original and the remake. So that would be quite fun, because it won in like 1932 or something. I don't know. Really long time ago.
It's been loads.
The original.
It's been, Dave will know that. Dave's been watching that. I think there's 3 versions. I think it's the 3rd version and the first German one. So
there was a mini series back in the 80s. I wouldn't count that as a version.
That's
of it,
true. Yeah. So that would be quite
a TV
fun.
movie.
Like we all like a little statistic like that.
Yeah.
Just quickly before we wrap up, have either of you seen Bardo?
No, I've heard about Bardo and I just avoided it.
So I put it on this afternoon because I was like, I should probably watch a new release before we do this video. Well, it's not that new, but an Oscar film. I got 15 minutes into it and I was like, I am turning this off. It is the weird, and I like Inarritu. I haven't seen The Revenant. I haven't seen that. I loved Birdman. And nope. I was like, this is awful. This is
my viewing experience with Blonde. I got about half an hour in, and I was like, nah, I can't. I
liked Blonde.
At Venice, Bardo was like 3 hours 15, I think, and then the Netflix version is 2:30. They when the reaction came out to how bad it had done in Venice, they like massacred the edit. And I think that was screened at London Film Festival.
It was, and I remember I didn't go and see it. I can't remember. It was on the same morning as something else. I can't remember what. And I was talking to another critic not that long ago about it, and they were like, "Yeah, I wish I'd come with you." I was like, "Yeah, I don't even remember what I saw, but whatever it was, apparently was better than Bardo." So it's so weird. It's beautifully shot. I can see why it's picked up that cinematography nomination, but I don't know what was going through his head when he wrote that. It's batshit.
Yeah, it is weird, that one. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what does happen. And we've only got 3 weeks? No, it's 2 weeks tonight. Fucking hell, the Oscars is in 2 weeks.
So
2
much to
weeks.
watch still.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of films.
know.
February, I always get caught out by February. That's really frustrating now. That's the same day as Crufts without getting into dog things. But yeah, is this? I mean, I don't have much more to say. I was going to say Paul Mescal, aka Gladiator 2. That's a discussion for a different time. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap up today's episode. As I said, we're still quite new to these. It's been very fun to do. I'm very shocked we went over an hour with how few me and Tayte watched, but thank you, Charlie, for having covered it all for us with a lot more. We want to hear from everybody. So, as I said, let us know what films you're watching. And also, maybe teasing what films are people looking forward to in March, because this month is going to be a banger. We have Creed 3 this Friday. There is Scream the week after. The 7th, no, it's not. Scream's the 17th. The 10th is 65. The 24th is John Wick 4. Let's make that crystal clear. John Wick returns this month. There's a lot of films happening. We've got The Last of Us every Monday. The Mandalorian starts on Wednesday. Pedro
That
Pascal's
was about to be my answer.
Yeah,
I'm excited for Mando.
2 Pedro Pascal streams a week. He is loving life. If you don't follow him on his own social medias, but that's going to do it for this. As always, thank you, Charlie, for coming on. For everybody else for commenting, you can get our social media as well. So it's coming out. The James Cameron was finished, as I said. Go check out that Titanic review though, because it's really all. I do admit I don't watch at the start, but the others carried it. But listen, Titanic on the big screen has changed my life, and I'm not joking. Like it's set a benchmark, and maybe that's why I was so harsh on that man as well, because I feel that I'm at this point now with things like Top Gun and Avatar and Titanic, where it's like I'm going to be a lot stricter, I think, on blockbusters. Yes. I don't have anything else to say or to plug. Rocky 4K reviews are out. They're going to come every week for a few weeks. For some reason, only Rocky 1 to 4 is getting a 4K release, not Rocky 5 or 6. Make it make sense somewhere. Imagine dropping a Star Wars 1 to 4 box set and then not having 5 or 6. Don't understand. But I'm going to end on that weird Rocky thing. So as I said, thank you everyone for watching, for getting involved, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.